folks. Welcome back. Hope everyone had a fantastic Thanksgiving with your friends and family. Hope everyone had a great Black Friday and got all the deals you were looking for. Feels good to be back. As a lot of you probably saw, I took a few days away from the hobby, the YouTubes, the streams, all of it. And I gotta tell you, it was refreshing. And as I sat there on Thanksgiving at my parents' house on my second, third, fourth plate of food, I lost count. I logged on YouTube and I saw there was a bunch of live streams going, whether they be rip and ship live streams or just straight on discussion live streams. There was a good amount of live streams because we all know videos. You can just record a video the day before, schedule it the next day, and it comes out on Thanksgiving. But I was really surprised to see how many people were live streaming. And it got me thinking, it's like, wow, do people really just not value any time with their friends and family anymore? But then I started thinking deeper about it. And I'm just like, well, everyone's on different schedules. Maybe they celebrate, earlier in the day, later in the day. Maybe, their family's in town, out of town. Maybe they don't have a good relationship with their family. I don't know. And then I started thinking even further, and I'm like, man, if I was still 20 years old, living at home, seeing my family all the time, wasn't married, I'd probably be doing the same thing. Let's be honest. And so I respect the hustle. I respect the grind. Hope everybody's Thanksgiving Day and all weekend streams this weekend did extremely well. Hope your channels grew, all that good stuff, because I get it. But a lot of people, I don't think, get that we're all in this perpetual state of competition in our own heads, literally in our own heads. And it could be business. It could be content. It could be investing. It could be collecting. It doesn't matter what it is. We create it up here. And the worst part about it is we're competing against impossible goals and impossible metrics. And I don't mean impossible, but like, oh, if you really worked hard, you could do it. It's like, no. They're legitimately statistically impossible. What I mean by impossible is when we look at investment gains or losses, right? We always look at the data from the exact bottom or the exact top, where we all know that's statistically impossible for anyone to buy everything they own at the exact bottom and sell everything they own at the exact top. Now, there's somebody out there that bought something at the bottom and sold something at the top, right? And you may have even caught a bottom or a top, but you're never going to do that every single time in any type of investing. But we all look at the data and we trick ourselves into thinking that that's realistic. And so we, trick ourselves into, thinking that, oh, I could have waited and got a better deal then. I overpaid. Or, oh, I should have sold a month ago. I knew this was coming and I lost all this money now or whatever. And, you hear people say things like, what about the brand new people that just got in the hobby? They're down 20% on, all these items. And it's like, well, did they really jump in and say, month and a half, 2 months ago, and Pokemon hit its all-time high recently, that I'm going to take everything I own, I'm going to buy everything on this specific day at this specific time, I'm buying No, that's not how it works, right? The same way as when things are low, someone didn't jump in and throw all their money and buy every single item at the exact low. We all average into things. We average out of things. We buy some things low, some things higher. It all is an average. But the way social media is, right? Same way as, all the ladies out there with, to follow the Instagram accounts of all these celebrities who, get the airbrush and the Photoshop and make themselves look, unbelievable, and it's all fake. But girls out there, think it's like real and they can achieve that, image or whatever. It's the same thing as investing. We get on, we see these YouTube channels, these comment sections, these Discords, these Reddits, and you would think everyone out there is just extremely wealthy. Like they have all the money in the world. They catch every bottom, hit every top, and they've got millions of dollars, right? The reality is, right? We all know that half of the stuff, I would say 99% of the stuff you read is BS, right? All the stories you hear is complete BS, but we trick ourselves into thinking that we're just so far behind. We missed every play. We missed all these bottoms. We missed all these tops, all this stuff. But it's not real. But we create this competition in our heads that tells us that we're doing something wrong. Not just that, every single thing that you own that, drops in value, you feel like a loser. You feel like you messed up in some way. Like, oh, I should have sold it then. I should have bought it here. I should have did this, should have did that. Whereas that's very contained to Pokemon. And I don't know why that is. And what I'm talking about is, if you go back a month and a half to Bitcoin, it was trading at up around 120,000 a coin. Right now, it's trading near 90,000 a coin in a month and a half. And so you're about 25% down if you would have bought in the 120s on Bitcoin. When you go to CoinMarketCap, which is a site that tracks all the cryptocurrencies, and you click on Bitcoin, they have like a community poll, which tells you how bullish or bearish the community is on the crypto. Bitcoin's still around 90% bullish from everyone that gets on there and votes or whatever. 90% bullish. Do you think people are still 90% bullish on Pokemon right now when it dropped 20%? And I don't know why it seems that everyone is so down on things like Pokemon when they have the same drops as some of these Wall Street companies, as some of these cryptocurrencies. But in all these other areas, like the stock market and crypto, everyone remains extremely bullish, continues to buy, dollar cost average in, and continues to do extremely well. But people, when they look at Pokemon, they don't understand that those same exact tactics work here as well, but their brains trick them into thinking it doesn't. And if the Black Friday sale tells you anything, right? If you haven't seen yet, go to TCG Player, go to eBay, just look at the sales volume. If that tells you anything, the money is still here. People are still willing to spend it on this hobby. They just want to spend it at a price point that they agree with, that they have come to terms with the items are worth in the current market. And the fact that the TCG Player sale was 10% off, a little extra if you became a member, paid for that, tells you we're within about 10% current market price of where people are willing to start loading up on this stuff. Fair? If people are willing to load up on it in those rates at a 10% cash back, that tells you about 10% of where we're at is where people are very comfortable with spending large amounts of money on this hobby. By the way, I've seen it on streams too. My own streams. When I run a sale on certain packs, they sell like wildfire. I mean, hundreds and hundreds in a single night. And some of the times I'm only selling the packs for 50 cents or maybe $1 less than what they were selling for the day before, which tells you we are getting extremely close to things leveling out. We're getting extremely close to prices actually recovering here soon. I would expect maybe into the end of this year, maybe early next year. And some people are going to say, that's crazy, Alex. We have much further to fall. But I disagree, because when you see this amount of strength, this amount of money being spent, go click on any Scarlet Violet era booster box and look how many sold on the Black Friday sale. When again, it's only 10% lower with the cash back than the current market price. And 10% on all those boxes is somewhere, between $20 to $40 off. And so when you're in your head thinking, am I willing to risk another $20 to $40 to continue to hold this stuff? And am I willing to hold long enough to see if it repeats the same exact thing every other era before it has? Or do I think this is the big one? Do I think this is the big crash that's never going to recover again? These are the things like that I think about when I'm thinking of holding. Whereas I think a lot of other people, they're not doing this kind of critical thinking. They're just looking at thumbnails and titles, and they're watching YouTube videos about people saying, I'm dumping it all, guys. The Pokemon market's crashing. It's going to keep coming. The cascade of reprints are going to start coming. Pokemon's catching up. MSRP's returning. All this stuff. And it's like, yeah, some of those things are true, but it doesn't mean that it's going to affect every product and every set the same way. And all of these things have happened before. Reprints and restocks have always happened. Price corrections have always happened, right? Certain sets dropping after reprints, other sets not dropping has always happened. And sets going out of print always happen every single year. And the idea that somehow this time is different than every other time before is, I don't know, it's just kind of a ridiculous belief when it can't be backed up by any type of statistics other than I just feel it this time, right? Or, talking about some other pop culture collectible from the 90s or something that failed. So that means Pokemon will fail. Well, Beanie Babies failed, so Pokemon will fail. Whatever, idea people come up with. And I think if people took more of that mindset, the same sort of mindset people have with, Wall Street, with cryptos and things like that, they'd be a lot better off. I remember making a statement on both my videos, and also I do a weekly live stream, Pokemart USA, on Eagle Eye's channel. And I've made this statement. I mean, it had to be for the first 6 months of the year. Every month I would make the same statement. And every month people would tell me how crazy it was. And the statement I would constantly make is, if you buy every Scarlet and Violet era booster box right now, in January this year, February, March, April, I kept repeating it every month. If you buy one of every booster box case, you will be better off in 1 year from that day than you are right now buying. And what I meant was, all in all, when everything's all, averaged out, even if some boxes are lower, the ones that are higher, much higher, that in 1 year from now, you'd be better off owning one of every box, one of every case, than not owning any of it. Meaning it's going to cost you more to buy every single box combined in a year from now than it does right now. And I got to tell you, maybe we get some reprints and restocks. And obviously we're still waiting on wave 2 for Phantasmal Flames. And we're going to see price drops, and we're going to see more and more product come to retail. We're going to see MSRP eventually on some items, on some newer sets. But I still feel the same way I felt on Scarlet Violet era as I did at the beginning of the year. If you come back December of 2026, obviously tomorrow's December, I truly believe you're going to be better off buying every single Scarlet Violet era booster box right now at the current price than what you could buy every single box for in 1 year from now. And then you could say, well, Alex, you don't think they're going to reprint Destined Rivals? They might. Maybe Destined Rivals gets reprinted. Maybe Destined Rivals is $250 next year. Well, you're wrong. No. It's an average. Because Bayside won't be lower. Paldea won't be lower. Obsidian, Paradox, 151, Paldea and Fates, those aren't going to be lower. And to be honest, a lot of the stuff that's still going to be in print then, in the middle block and the late block, a lot of those probably won't get reprints or won't get massive reprints, and the boxes will probably continue to rise. And I'll still stand by that. If I had to place a bet, I would say I would rather buy every box right now at the current price point than wait a year and buy everything then. And again, there's a lot of nuance there. You don't have to go all in or all out, right? So yeah, there's certain boxes you can wait on. I could wait on Phantasmal Flames. I could wait on some other products and not buy every single product. But the main point is that the market continues to grow year over year. It just happens subtly, right? And it happens with corrections and movement to the, stagnation, then small upturns. It just doesn't move in these radical ways that we've seen throughout the last year. And so it kind of goes under the radar, right? And then all of a sudden you'll look and you'll say, oh, that box is up, 10, 20, 30%. And then, another 6 months, a year goes by, it's up another 10, 20, 30%. And those 10, 20, 30% are compounding each time. And, eventually you look back 2-3 years and the conversation's no longer on those products. And, all the heat and intensity surrounding those items is no longer there. And there's no longer all the animosity and that hatred and, upset and people that are euphoric. And it's just normalization. And you realize that all the stuff that was swirling around in your head all throughout the life cycle of those products, it was meaningless because time still cured all when it came to investing. And I still believe in that. I still go by that. But the competition thing is really what I wanted to focus on, because I do it myself sometimes. Much more when I was newer, when I was a brand new channel, I'd compare myself to, every other PokeTuber content in the, investing in market space and, want to grow in subs. I want to grow in views. I'd want to, beat them in some way. Right. And then, obviously when I went full time and got in the business, I wanted to compete with all the other businesses and, grow my sales and beat them in sales and beat them in streams and beat them in whatever. And the more and more, I think about it and I've thought about it and really came to terms with things is everyone's got different goals. Your competition is all in your own head. You're not competing against anybody. You think you are, but you're not, right? You're competing against yourself. You're competing to make the best life possible for yourself and anyone that around you that you want to share it with. That's all this is. That's all investing is. That's all your business is, your work is, right? You are just trying to create whatever it is you want to create in life, whatever your goals are. And some people have much higher aspirations. Some people have lower aspirations, right? Some people, have a longer term. They see themselves working. Some have a shorter term. Some people have different collection goals, different investing goals. Some people have different risk tolerances. So some people look at Pokemon and say, Alex, this is the stupidest thing. Stop telling people investing in Pokemon is somehow, a good way to, park your money or whatever. And I'm just like, well, for you, it might not be. It may not fit your risk profile, right? You may be more of a, money market mutual fund. It may be some sort of a bond investor. You may be a precious metals investor or a S&P index investor. Other people, they want to take a little bit more risk. They want to try to jump the line, so to say, and get ahead a little quicker. They may start investing in single stocks that are more speculative with no dividends. They may want to start investing in cryptocurrencies. They may want to invest in collectibles, which again has shown to have higher than average returns. But yes, you could say it's much more risky, but it doesn't take away from the fact that all the returns are still real. And so when I look at this stuff, I say, well, look, I'm not rich. I didn't grow up rich. I don't have family money that I'm waiting for, some big trust fund. And so the only way I am going to get ahead and be able to, have financial independence before I'm 60 or 70 years old is to take higher than average risk. And so an S&P index fund, a mutual fund, that's great for maintaining your wealth once you already achieve it. But it's very hard to grow your wealth in those without long periods of time, at least 20, 30, 40 plus years. And so the only way to jump the line is to take on more risk, which in my opinion, collectibles for me made the most sense because I know the most about them. There's different advantages that you have when you are, completely ingrained in the markets and in the industry. And it made more sense than trying to make a crypto play or a single stock play, which others, have made and done extremely well with those. But other people, they may not care about jumping the line. They may be fine with what they do. They plan to work forever and they're fine with just 10 or 12% growth in a mutual fund and an index fund. And that's fine for them. And they see all this stuff as crazy. And that's fine too. The thing I'm trying to get at is stop making what other people do affect what you do, right? Or if other people are dumping their Pokemon, then you should somehow think about dumping yours. Or if other people are buying a bunch of this set, that means you should be buying that set. Do they have the same resources as you do? Do they have the same methods of buying and selling as you do? Are they getting the same price as you are? Right? Do they have the same time frame that you're looking to hold these things? Do they run a business? Do they not run a business? There's so many different factors that I don't think people take into account. They're just so, mesmerized by the headlines, by the thumbnails, the titles, and what somebody online has to say. And they don't, they get that fear of missing out. I don't want to miss out. I don't want to miss out on possibly being able to sell at the tops or buy at the bottoms. And I just think it makes you honestly make worse decisions. It makes you less happy overall. And again, you're competing against this fictitious goal that is somebody else's goal. It's not even your goal. And so that's been my, I would say, biggest strength these days is I'm not competing against anybody. I don't have competition. Right? I'm not trying to beat anyone's streaming numbers. I'm not trying to beat anyone's views or subscriber numbers, right? I'm not trying to beat anyone's investing numbers. I'm doing what's right for me with the time that I have available, that I've set aside to have available to work, with the investments that I'm comfortable with, that fit my risk profile, that I believe in, that are going to, get me to where I want to be in the time frames I'm comfortable with. And that's what I'm going with. That's all it is. And if that doesn't work for other people, you can say I'm wrong in the comments and I'm stupid and all those things and go on about your way and do what you feel is right. But it doesn't matter either way, right? Because if I'm wrong, if I'm right, it doesn't affect you. It doesn't affect anyone else. And so hopefully something I said here got through and at least helped somebody out throughout their journey, whatever they got going on. Because everyone out there can be successful, guys. Everyone out there can be successful in their own ways. And just because someone else may be making more money, getting more views, having a bigger collection, having a bigger investment, one of their investments took off more than yours, you lost on one of your investments, they made money, whatever it may be, it's all irrelevant in the big picture. So anyways, that's all I got, guys. Feels good to be back. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody. And see you guys on stream tonight, 6 p.m. Central Time, if you guys want to stop by and rip some packs. We're out.